California Governor Gavin Newsom continues to turn the tables on Donald Trump. He continues to stick the dagger into Donald Trump and punch back in Donald Trump's face. And Governor Newsom saying, why should California pay any taxes at all? California gives over $85 billion more to the federal government than California takes. It's the most populous state. It's the wealthiest state. It would be the fourth largest GDP in the world if it was a country. Yet the Trump regime continues to hate on California, refuse to provide aid to California, and ultimately continue to attack California. So Governor Newsom writes, why do we pay federal taxes at all? We're getting very little representation. Trump can't even return money California taxpayers paid to the federal government to help LA fire survivors who needed to rebuild their homes and pay rent. Give the people their money back. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then a Newswire story states, Newsom, if Trump cannot provide the bare minimum to Californians, perhaps it's time for California to withhold resources from the feds. Exactly. Why are Californians paying federal taxes when the federal government is attacking California this way? For real. California Governor Newsom says the following. When I said that Donald Trump got schlonged by Joe Biden, it meant he got beaten badly. The media knows this, often used words in politics, that Trump got schlonged. Governor Newsom then posts this photo of Kim Jong-un in response to Donald Trump's press conference from earlier yesterday, where Trump announces that he is creating a new class of Navy vessels that he designed called the Trump class of ships. So as inflation is up, as unemployment is up, as grocery prices are up, as electricity prices are up significantly, Donald Trump is spending his time doing this bullshit, is what Governor Newsom writes. And he's referring to things like Donald Trump naming the vessels, the Trump vessels, changing the name of the Kennedy Center to the Trump Kennedy Center, unlawfully vandalizing the Kennedy Center. And then Donald Trump posting these golden plaques with Truth Social posts on the White House wing, where Donald Trump refers to former President Biden as Sleepy Joe Biden, by far the worst president, one of the most divisive political figures in American history, referring to former President Barack Obama. Governor Newsom's like, you're doing this shit? You're vandalizing the White House. You're vandalizing the Kennedy Center when the American people are struggling right now. Like, what the hell are you doing? And as we learned, that Kash Patel ordered that $1 million plus of our taxpayer money buy him a fleet of BMW X5 cars instead of the Chevrolet Suburbans, because he wanted a BMW to take him and his girlfriend around in addition to their private jets. Governor Newsom posted an image of little Cash on a little BMW X5 mocking Kash Patel. It's exactly how you have to treat these individuals. Now, Governor Newsom also posted this photo of the right-wing MAGA influencers back from February outside of the White House when they were holding that Trump binder called the Epstein Transparency Binder Phase 1 release. Do you remember that, where they tried to pass off that those were the Epstein files? This tiny binder. Go back to February when the Trump regime brought in all their propagandists to the White House. They're like, we did it. We got the files. And everybody was like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Those aren't the files. You're just showing old phone logs that were produced like 7 years ago. Do you really think that we're all that stupid? That's how the Trump regime behaves. Governor Newsom also writes, what are Trump, Bondi, and Kash Patel hiding? Is this why Bongino, the deputy FBI director, quit the day before they ignored the law and released only a few files? This in response to the news that at least 16 files from the Epstein release disappeared from the DOJ's website, including a photo of Trump with no explanation. By the way, it should also be noted that yesterday, the Trump regime released its batch 8 of DOJ files, then immediately took that down from the DOJ website. Governor Newsom then posts, I hope everyone has a great holiday weekend, except our clinically ill felon president, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, J.D. Vance's couch, J.D. Vance's futon, Cash Can't Catch 'em Patel, Cosplay Christie's, Participation Trophy Pete, Caroline Levitt, Secretary Brainworm, and Mike Always on His Knees Johnson. Love that he calls MAGA Mike Always on His Knees Johnson. Then Governor Newsom did this podcast right here with the San Francisco Standard. Let's take a listen to what he said here. Powerful words. Let's play this clip.
I think all of us that have been on the other side of Trump understand there's no working with Trump. There's only working for Trump. And while there's situational opportunities. And we experienced that when I worked with him, probably better than any governor in this country, certainly Democratic governor. During COVID, there were a lot of benefits to that. But there was a lot of realities in terms of that relationship that we have to confront. And California's confronted it in a very meaningful way. We have filed we're getting close to 50 lawsuits. They were not proactive litigation. It was in response to his assault on this state and the assault on our universities, the assault on funding, $4 billion transportation funding, $1.2 billion for a hydrogen hub. I mean, I could sit back and say, Mr. Trump, you're doing a wonderful job, sir, and continue to watch him completely fleece this state and this extortion racket that he's running. And ask the folks at UCLA, the cuts to NIH, cuts to NSF, the impacts to our universities here and UCSF, and the ability to attract the best and the brightest from around the world, the $100,000 burdens on H-1B visas, the issues around legal, not just illegal or undocumented, and immigration broadly. The impacts are outsized in this state. And so we're going to stand up. My state of mind is always an open hand, not a closed fist, but we're going to stand up for our people, our values, and stand up for those being bullied and intimidated.
More from Governor Newsom right here, pushing back. Play this clip.
Oh, I've said this. The only thing that mattered was 2025. That's why we did Proposition 50. This guy tried to rig the 2026 election. He started in Texas and he went to Missouri, went to North Carolina, tried to go to Indiana. He'll certainly get the support in Florida. He's not screwing around. There's a ruthlessness coming from this administration. These guys are trying to wreck this country. And not only are they trying to rig the election in the context of this redistricting, but look what Trump is doing with masked men showing up, secret police, his own private police force, like Gregory Bavino. And folks out there that are trying to intimidate free expression, free speech. The fact that we're going to have quick response teams in every state in this country in January. Wake up, folks, to what's going on, how he's trying to vandalize these elections by calling them rigged the day of the election. Donald Trump said the election out here was rigged. Sent in the DOJ and monitors, filed, and we're in court literally yesterday. We were in court on Proposition 50 and the expectations that we go to the Supreme Court. You should put chills up the spine, a lot of folks. So these guys mean business. And so look, I can hold hands. I can have a candlelight vigil. I want to be that guy. Of course I want to be. We all want to be that. But meanwhile, we can watch this country become completely unrecognizable unless we stand up and fight back. And that's what Prop 50 was. I know others have not done that in their homes, their states. They have the ability to do it. They have a different state of mind. I appreciate that. And they all are promoting the future. I'm dealing with the cards that are dealt.
Do you think other governors should do that?
I think we need to. And it's not, I'm not looking to create a rift there.
Sure.
These are my friends and we've worked very collaboratively together. But I take this moment perhaps more seriously than others because I've seen it firsthand. I've been up close to what this guy's doing, the corruption, venality that's going on. I mean, the next level corruption, the crony capitalism, the state capitalism, and how many corporate leaders out here in this great state of ours have sold out. That's why I did these knee pads on my Patriot site. It's why I'm pushing back in terms of my social media. It's code red. Universities selling out, law firms selling out. They're destroying this country. So we won't have a country if we don't win the midterms in 2026. So I love and I appreciate this.
So this is one of the stories that should be leading every single newscast, and somehow it's barely breaking through. So give me just 1 minute for this important report. Quietly, the Trump administration is dismantling the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Colorado. Most people have probably never heard of the research lab, but almost everyone has depended on it. This is the lab that helps scientists fly into hurricanes, that builds the weather models meteorologists use to predict floods, wildfires, and deadly heat waves, that gives communities early warnings that literally save lives. And now the White House is moving to dissolve it. A top Trump official called it, quote, one of the largest sources of climate alarmism and accused it of being woke for its research. I'm not making that up. They literally called it woke for that kind of research. So they've decided to gut it. Climate scientists are horrified right now. One called the research lab the, quote, global mothership of climate and weather science. Another said dismantling it is like taking a sledgehammer to the keystone, holding up our understanding of this planet. Colorado's governor says this will cost lives, weaken disaster response, and hand a competitive edge to foreign adversaries. Not to mention 800 jobs are now in limbo, along with decades of research infrastructure at risk. And all of this is happening while our country faces more extreme storms, fires, floods, and heat than ever before. See, to me, this isn't even about politics. It's about whether we choose science or we choose ignorance when the warnings are blaring. So please do me this favor, spread the word, help us make noise, leave a comment below letting us know your thoughts on Trump shutting down the National Center for Atmospheric Research, and tell us your thoughts on climate and environmental issues. Okay, Ben, Back to you.
Governor Newsom talks about what he's also focused on is like basic humanity. Play this clip.
I mean, I've said this a million times. We all want to be protected, connected, respected. And I don't like when people talk down to people or past people. Open hand, not a closed fist. It extends back to the Trump question too. I'm not habitually wired like that, but I also am going to stand up for people that are being attacked and threatened, and institutions and human beings that are fearful and anxious. I mean, communities on edge in the Latino. I mean, it's just disgrace what's going on in this country. So that's the line. But when it comes to humanity, I'm just trying to pull that out of folks.
And I think you'll like this as well, to actually hear a leader speak with clarity, moral clarity, intellectual clarity, exercising moral and formal authority, and having a command on the legislation that's out there. Governor Newsom here gives a very nuanced discussion of an issue that is very important, that is not getting enough attention. AI. How do you harness the power of AI in a way that's beneficial while placing the appropriate safeguards and protections to make sure that people aren't losing their jobs, to make sure that it's not used as a tool to harm minors, to harm individuals in general? How do we do it in a way to ensure that, these data centers that are being built are not environmentally extremely harmful, are not destroying communities, are not raising electricity prices? So Governor Newsom gives a very nuanced analysis, and it's so great to finally hear some intelligent leader talk about this stuff. Tell me what you think here. Play this clip.
AI for decades has been part of the conversation as we move from search to suggest, and we didn't necessarily have the vernacular around it. Now Gen AI, we're starting to understand. And then as we get to AGI and the issues around superintelligence, the anxiety, the promise and peril that it promotes and that it creates. So look, California's been a leader in this space. We're not only a leader in terms of creating and developing the technology, and obviously accelerating and scaling that technology around the globe. 32, 33, arguably of the top 50 AI market cap companies in the world are right here, dominantly, disproportionately here, quite literally in San Francisco, not just in the state of California. Right around the corner. Yeah. And so we have a responsibility, and we've led across issues in technology, on privacy issues and data protection, children's safety. We created a privacy council statewide that has authority that doesn't exist in any other state in the country. And so our state of mind is about accountability, responsibility. I signed 18 AI bills. We've led on watermarking. We've led on robocalls. We've led on protections across the spectrum. But the issue around large language models specifically, and issues around frontier models, issues that were brought to the fore last year when I signed SB 53, which is a nation-leading framework that, interestingly, is being debated as we speak in the governor's office in New York, where Kathy Hochul will make a determination of whether or not to look to California as a model and begin to frame potentially the opportunity to look at what we've done as a national model. Of course, Trump and some of his folks, like David Sachs, everybody else out here, want to undermine California's leadership in this space, but we want to maintain it as imperfect as our regulatory system is, meaning we are very mindful of the importance of being iterative and maintaining a posture of flexibility on the basis of the known and unknown realities.
Well, Governor Newsom also responds to the White House bragging about how it's changed the name, unlawfully, I might add, of the Kennedy Center to now be called the Trump Kennedy Center. And Governor Newsom says, can't wait for the next president to overturn this on day one. Little foreshadowing, eh? We'll check back in 2028 when I think Governor Newsom may possibly be that guy who's going to overturn it on day one. And I certainly hope that whether it's Governor Newsom or whoever becomes the next president, that they rip down that East Wing, that the new Golden Ballroom thing. If Trump builds an arch, that thing gets blown up for real, that it gets torn down by a future administration, that all these things with Trump's name on it immediately changes, that all these Trump stooges are immediately fired. It's going to be a Herculean task, but I think someone like Governor Newsom is up for the task. There's a lot of other great people also who it could be, but I think Governor Newsom is up for the task. Governor Newsom also responds to the following post. Heating costs are expected to go up 9.2% this winter across the United States. Great work, Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom writes. Gavin Newsom also responds to the news that the national debt surpassing 35 trillion. It continues to increase at a record pace. Wow, great work, Doge. You can really see where Doge is doing great. And finally, Governor Newsom goes after Pam Bondi, the corrupt attorney general covering up for the child sex trafficking ring. And the Department of Justice is like, we're going to continue to review and redact because we're really focused on transparency here with the Epstein files. Governor Newsom responds, sure, Pam, sure. There you have it, folks.